There are a few things that new DMs struggle with the most, and that's world building, creating an adventure to fit your players, and running the game itself. What's up, everyone? It's Talon, and in today's episode of DMing 101, I'm going to be teaching you the basics of how to build a world. Just a quick reminder, I currently stream on Mixer right now. I'm checking it out, kind of seeing how it is, testing the waters, as it were. Still same schedule, Thursday through Sunday. All the links and the details down in the description below. Be sure to check them out if you want to see me suck at games. I mean, really suck. Or also, there are two main styles of world building in games and media. There's the top-down style, think Middle-earth. Think Lord of the Rings in general. It really went from a top-down. It told you Middle-earth's history, and then it went down into the little area first. That's how it built its world. So in more detail, the top-down building is you start from the highest point, then you work your way down to just the simple stuff. Then there is the total flip side of that, which is starting small. And as the name implies, you literally start with maybe a village or a town and some stuff around its surroundings, like a forest and, I don't know, probably a couple dungeons. Some monster nests, whatnot. Both of the methods are fantastic. They're great methods. It's purely a matter of preference in which one you actually do. Personally, I actually go with a mix. What I do is I build the pantheon of the world. I answer those three questions and I build the pantheon. Much like starting from the top, build the pantheon and then work my way down. But I only actually create a small section. And as the players explore, I create more sections. Anyways, so we're going to assume, moving forward, we're going to assume that you are building a medieval fantasy world. The top down, as I mentioned, I always start with the pantheon. What type of deities do the creatures inhabiting this world worship, and why? Don't worry if you can't think of why. It's not fully necessary, honestly. But I enjoy thinking of why because it really gets me into the world and thinking about its history and its past and what happened to cause these people to worship the gods and goddesses that they worship right now. From there, I build the actual continents and populate them with forests and mountains and valleys, etc., etc., etc. Geographical shit. If you want to see me make a map, I'm more than willing to do that. Just let me know down in the comments and I'll schedule a stream or something and I'll post it to YouTube. Now, while you're actually doing all the geography and creating the world itself, I personally ask myself another three simple questions. You're going to be noticing a theme here, trust me. 1, why is this here? The answer could be as simple as because it fucking is. 2, what special features does this have? Maybe there's a hidden shrine in the mountains where there's an enormous face carved into the rock and has waterfalls coming out of its eyes as if it's crying or something like that. Or maybe it's inhabited by, I don't know, mythical dragons and undead. Stuff like that. And thirdly, how did it get its name? Again, it could be as simple as its Iron Mountains are called the Iron Mountains because they have iron in them. Literally that simple. After that, after I have the area, the continents and whatnot, geography made, then I go into the kingdoms, their shapes, and their leaders. 3 things. The kingdom, shapes, and leaders. During this time, I live by the phrase variety is the spice of life. Because variety in kingdoms is important, because it always gives players something new, some new kind of mystery, or some new aspect that they hadn't expected. Plus, it's fun. It's literally awesome to go from a classic medieval European world, cross a border into a desert, and then you're in some medieval Saudi Arabia. It's kind of cool, or medieval Egypt or something. That'd be kind of cool, actually. And again, following the theme of 3 questions. What resources does this kingdom have access to? Maybe they rest on a coastline, so they have a hell of a lot of fish and whaling and whatnot. What is their military made up? Perhaps the seaside kingdom is mostly sailors and militiamen. No real primary military force or presence even. And lastly, what is this kingdom most known for? Perhaps this kingdom, the seaside kingdom, is most known for the fact that their ships are able to catch the winds differently, thus being able to go faster while still being, enormous. Now, I could go deeper into that kind of world building, you know, top down, but this video would be over an hour, let's be honest. Building a world's a lot. So we're going to go over to the other method, which is starting small. With this method of world building, you'll find it's much more personal, and you're able to put more time into the smaller details as opposed to the top-down method. That is one benefit of this. And no, you don't need a map of the area. The top-down method you kind of do, but this one not really, honestly. Everyone who lives in the town or village is going to know where that spider-filled forest or the haunted mine or the witch they ask for help from occasionally are. And they can give directions, you know, really simple ones like, follow the road towards the mountains, and once you reach the dead tree, take a right and follow the creek for an hour. Once again, 3 questions. What are the people in the village or town like? Are they superstitious? Are they extremely wary of strangers? Or perhaps they're overly welcoming to new faces. Suspiciously so. Oh. What resources do they have access to? And what do they trade for? Like, what resources do they require? Like, why do people go to that town? What do they buy from there? You know, stuff like that. 3, who rules over this area? Plain and simple. You can also get into the nitty-gritty, like the really, like, you know, all the dirt of the actual town and village, naming each important NPC and giving them all their own personalities and traits and backgrounds. Only if you want to do that. My favorite one is the inn owner who used to be an adventurer who made his fortune and built an inn. He always loves to hear tales of adventures and will forego the price of food and drink for a tale or two. As long as it's good, you know. There is technically a third way whenever it comes to D&D or other tabletop games and whatnot. And that's mostly for the person that doesn't have a lot of time or is just creatively gone. You know, it doesn't have a lot of creativity left. You know, they're tired and they just don't want to do it. And that is pre-published adventures. I've mentioned these before. The pre-published adventures printed by Wizards of the Coast or other third parties are extremely helpful. They are filled with entire settings and maps and everything, NPCs, everything you're going to need to build a world. You can just rip those right out. And I don't mean literally rip. Don't tear apart the books, please, unless you're into that. But you could totally do that. And honestly, any sources. You could just take stuff from any sources. And I'm going to reiterate this in almost every video I make. You don't need to come up with everything on your own. Understand that. This is not a solo thing. You are part of a community now, friend. Fucking welcome. That's all I got for this episode, everyone. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, if you have questions, ask in the comments down below or pop into my streams if it's one of those days and ask away.